committees, so I'm just occupying it here.
It's probably your magnetic personality that's causing the feedback. All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. First off, I'd like to introduce our auditor, Justin Petering. He works for the Tennessee State Comptroller's Office, and I'm going to turn it over to him for just a little bit.
All right, I appreciate being here. I appreciate you Mayor inviting me today to see, and Ms. Fredericks as well. And I appreciate the audit committee being here, along with other county officials that are here as well. My name is Justin Petering. I work for the Tennessee Comptroller's Office, as he mentioned, as an auditor. I've worked for Mr. Munpower it was Mr. Wilson and now Mr. Munpower for 7 years. And as an auditor, we work with all the public officials in the county, so all the elected officials in the county. During the last year, I was able to work closely with your county clerk, Mr. Brown, your circuit and sessions court clerk, Ms. Vincent, your clerk and master, Patsy Brooks, your register, Ms. Moore, your trustee, Mr. Lowry, the sheriff's office, Kevin Sugg and Beth Sugg, with his bookkeeper. And we also work with the county highway department, Mr. Dew and now Ms. also Brooks, as well as the school department, working with Ms. McCaskill and was working closely with Ms. Cherry as well there. And we also work with the county mayor's office, Mr. Bridges and Ms. Fredericks. So that's a little bit about what we do. We work with each of those county officials in the county. Our job is to work with these county officials to make sure and ensure that tax dollars are being spent appropriately and according to state statute. Usually, if we're invited to speak to an audit committee, our position will be to discuss the prior year findings. We just finished up the fiscal 21-year audit just a few months ago. Usually that would be discussed prior year findings, but this past year, the county as a whole, counting all the offices, had only one audit finding. The audit finding that the county had last year was related to an investigation of the prior mayor, not the current mayor, not Mr. Bridges, but was the prior mayor. The report disclosed a county mayor falsifying unemployment forms that resulted in unauthorized benefits of at least $9,075. Again, this audit finding did not reflect on the current county mayor, but reflects on the prior mayor. That was for falsifying unemployment forms that resulted in unauthorized benefits. The county received no other findings. This was the only finding that the county received by audit. This would be about as close to a clean exit as you can get. And to compare that across the state, I counted up last year's audit findings across this, or clean audits across the state. There's 95 counties in Tennessee. There was 12 counties that I counted, so around 12, that received the designation of a clean audit. This county received one finding related to the prior administration.
Knocked them over.
Sorry.
Knocked them over.
So again,
That was one audit.
Okay, so that's good. So this is about as clean as you can get. So the county is very close to that designation. It was very close this year. Basically, it was just because of an investigation that didn't come out until this current year that this county didn't have a clean exit. Although a clean audit does not mean that each office is perfect. We do miss things, but it does indicate, having a clean audit does indicate that there's strong systems in place that allow for accurate financial reporting and clear checks and balances that help protect the taxpayer's money. So bookkeeping is what results in usually close to a clean audit. That's the biggest things that we look at is within the bookkeeping. Make sure the books are all balanced. All your county officials, that they're reconciling bank statements, that their books are tied back to the annual financial reports, and that their accounts are balanced. This helps protect the taxpayer money. It takes the cooperation of numerous elected officials in order to receive this designation. it is possible for this county to receive that designation in the near future, if no new audit issues arise within the next year. So it's definitely a possibility. As far as myself, I arrived in Houston County for the first time in December of 2018. Mayor Bridges and Ms. Fredericks were just coming into office, basically just getting started. That's when I started working with Houston County, was in 2018. So as an auditor, we get moved around from county to county every so often, so that a new auditor can come in and give a fresh perspective and help the officials. So this was my last year auditing here for a little while anyways. So I've been working with these officials for about 3 years. So since usually our main position would be to discuss the prior year findings, there wasn't much to discuss in that area. But I did want to point out where the county was just a few short years ago. These are all public records, but in 2018, if the audit committee can see this document, this was 2018. The county received 8 findings. This is a list of findings that the county received just in 2018. Findings included the general and general debt service funds requiring material audit adjustments. The office had deficiencies in budget operations. Office did not file a report on debt obligations with the state comptroller's office. Funds appropriations exceeded estimated available funding. Lease purchase agreement was not issued in compliance with state statutes. The general sessions and juvenile courts did not reconcile cash journals. The docket trial balance. There was offices that had accounting deficiencies, and there were several offices that had segregation of duties findings as well. This was just 3 years ago. This was 2018. And in 2019, the county as a whole, not just the county mayor's office, the county as a whole received 6 findings, in 2020, 2 findings, and in 2021, 1 finding. So starting in 2018, the county went from 8 findings to 6 findings to 2 findings down to 1 finding. Again, this does represent progress year over year. You have all of your current county officials to thank for that. One other thing I'd like to point out while I'm here is the county debt situation. I think it's important to point out the debt situation because honestly, it was the main story of the first half of the 3 years that I was here, working with Ms. Fredericks and Mr. Bridges. Ms. Fredericks and Mr. Bridges spent countless hours working on the county debt situation. I worked with them on it a lot. It's one of the worst debt situations that I have come across as an auditor. Looking at 2018 and 2019 per capita or per population, there are only 4 or 5 counties in the entire state out of 95 counties that have higher debt per population than Houston County. That was in 2018 and 2019. So you can see that when doing the books, why this would be a hardship on a county mayor's office or on a county to try to make a budget work with that kind of debt, having higher debt than almost any other county. So in 2019, we have a chart here. Ms. Fredericks actually printed it out, but I already had this in my notes to speak about. But it's a data snapshot that each of you have. It shows, if you look at the top, the red chart, the red in each of the top 3 areas where it's red, you'll see that in 2019, this was published by the Comptroller's Office. In 2019, the county had $15 million in debt. It was $15.3 million. In 2020, the county had $14 million. And in 2021, the county had $13 million. So it goes $15 million, $14 million, $13 million year over year. So you see that each year the county debt has dropped at an average of about $1 million. In 2018, when I started, I counted up the current debt issuances that the county had open. The debt issuance that I counted, so we'll say around, was 27 debt issuances that the county bookkeeper was responsible for keeping up with. 27 debt issuances. And in 2020, when I closed out the books with Ms. Fredericks, there was 13 debt issuances that were currently active at June 30th, 2021. 27 debt issuances to 13 debt issuances. So, in conclusion, I'd like to mention that we at the Comptroller's Office are prepared to look into any fraud, waste, or abuse that the audit committee or any county official is aware of. Any fraud, non-compliance with laws and regulations, anything with contracts or grant agreements, or abuse involving management or employees, we are prepared to look at that. We can look at any transactions, vendors, or employees that are treated differently than other employees. We would be happy to look into any concerns that you have. Each elected official that is in the county has the legal obligation within 5 days to report fraud, waste, or abuse to the Comptroller's Office. You go to the Comptroller's website, you go down, you can click a link to submit fraud, waste, and abuse. And that would start the process of it going straight to Nashville, and it would trickle down to audit or investigations, and they could come and look at those concerns. So each official legal obligation within 5 days to report that. The county really is to be commended between 2018, dropping the audit findings down from 8 down to 1. If anyone has any questions, I would be happy to address those.
No
Sir.
question, but me personally, would like to thank Ms. Nina and Mr. James, Mr. Bridges for their diligent work. I cannot imagine the county turning around as quick as this one has. Have you seen that?
I have not audited a county that went from 8 findings to 1 finding in 3 years. I usually see debt increase in my experience, and to see it go from 15 to 14 to 13 in 3 years is progress, and it takes a long time to overcome something where there's that much debt. Just like in your personal, if you look at personally, you take on debt, it takes a long time to overcome it. And to see progress of it going down is remarkable.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to Justin and the other auditors, because they've always been there to answer questions. Because when you don't know something, you have to go somewhere and ask the question. And they've always, sometimes I didn't like the answers, but they always answered the questions and really helped us get where we're at. So thank you, Justin.
Anybody got anything else?
Where do you think we need to proceed in the next few years? I mean, they've kind of turned things around, on the right path. What should the county do to stay that way and to improve?
The biggest recommendation that I would have is to continue to work with the auditors closely to bring problems you'll have a new auditor this year, to bring problems that you see, potential problems before June 30th, so that those can get addressed, because once that June 30th hits, that's when the audit starts, and then we're looking past, so really having open communication with your auditors. The new auditor coming in, Shelby Tucker, Ms. Fredericks, and Mr. Bridges have both worked with. And I think that's the key for us is just being open and willing to work with us, and we're willing to work with officials, especially when they seek us out to work with them.
And really, so you know, because we were really up against the wall when we came aboard, we were upside down. And the Comptroller's Office really is one of the places that helped us find solutions to get through each year. They really showed Houston County grace in helping us. We had tax anticipation notes that couldn't be repaid, and they allowed us to finance those and repay them over 5 years, which is, I don't know that that's happened very often. So the Comptroller's Office has shown Houston County a lot of grace in helping us get out of this hole.
We were on the verge of being taken over by the state, I guess, too, weren't we?
In 2018, when I came here, they had taken out a tax. The county had taken out a tax anticipation note for $500,000, and that was due in full. And not only could the county not pay back, they couldn't pay back any of it. It was due in full, and not only did they not pay back, they couldn't pay back any of it, and they were already in the hole, close to $100,000, or right around $100,000 negative before the $500,000, basically over $600,000 negative.
If nobody's got any other questions, as the mayor of Houston County, would like to thank the comptroller's office and you personally, Justin, for the work that you've done with us and helping us try to get Houston County back on track. And I don't say it to Vina often enough. When I got into office, I set the policies. I told her what I wanted. She is the mind behind making all this happen. She's the one that works the books. She's here first thing in the morning. She's here late at night. She is literally the backbone of our financial status. Where we're at right now is 100% Vina Fredericks. She has worked her tail end off to get this county back on track. And like I said, I don't thank her enough, especially not publicly. But thank you very much for the work that you do in my office. We very much appreciate it. All right, I guess at this time we need to elect a chairman and a secretary for the audit committee. The floor is open for nominations.
Nominate Tony Hayes, Chairman.
I'll second.
Any other nominations? We got a motion and a second. Any objections? to it? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right. And nominations for a secretary.
Nominate Lance Elfman, Secretary. I'll second.
All right, we got a nomination and a second. Any other nominations? Any objections? Everybody loves being a secretary. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
This was reflected, right?
I've taken the notes up until now.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn this meeting over to you.
Have you got any other further business that you'd like to?
I don't. Vina was good enough to put this agenda together and put a packet together just so everybody has the information and can compare our past audits to our current situation.
The only thing on there that might be of importance is the IT audit. We have an IT audit as well. And we had no findings on our IT audit. But they did recommend that we have to beef up our cybersecurity, as we just have to. And so for budgeting purposes, everything has a cost. And we've been looking into what it's going to cost to do that. So we'll be adding that in our budget. I believe local government, we are required to have our backups checked at least once a year. And local government will do that as part of our system, but that's an added $495. And then I believe the cybersecurity program, I believe the trustees was $795 or $800 for the trustees office alone for cybersecurity. So
It's a per license, so it depends on how many computers you have in each office.
So each office will have to have cybersecurity especially if they deal with any personal information or money.
How much is that gonna be annually?
Well, the trustees office was $800. I don't know if you looked at ours.
I've asked them for a quote. I haven't gotten it.
We're getting the quotes for each office now.
approximately 800 per office.
You say 800. I was thinking probably about 6,000, 7,000 just for that, plus the 500 on top for local government. Not all offices use the same programs. Trustee uses local government, we use local government, but I believe the court system has a different program that they use, and they may already have cybersecurity. Some of our offices may already have that built in. I don't know.
So probably 6,500.
I would think so.
I did get the quote in my email. Mayor's office would be $1,205 a year.
I put 7,000-8,000 annually.
We have five.
We probably
We
have
have
more
five
computers than
computers.
anybody.
Yeah, that.
That's probably on the high end of that.
Other than that, the only other change that will affect our budget is Mr. Brown from the county clerk's office has kind of been working under a hybrid pay system. And it's much, I think Justin worked with him to try to figure out the best thing to do. And Mr. Brown came to us and said that he would like to stop the hybrid and be paid as all other elected officials. And so he'll go into our regular payroll. And so we're going to do that July 1st so that it's easier for him for his segregation of duties and internal controls. And so we're working with him to make that happen July 1st. It won't have a difference dollar-wise in our budget, but it will make our budget look differently when we sit down to do it.
Yeah, the budget for his office will look a little wonky that first year, if you look at it compared to this year. It's significantly different, but dollar for dollar is going to be like the same.
Then after that, it looks like.
Right.
You want to move on down the agenda, or everything's pretty well covered already, or?
If you have any questions, everything was pretty well covered. And it was funny because I had all of this and then Justin showed up and he had pretty much the same stuff to talk about. So
Without the agenda.
without the agenda, yeah, he didn't have the agenda.
I didn't know it was gonna be the same thing she had on the
Yeah,
agenda.
I mean, we have our fund balance policies in place, and I'd like to leave them there, but keep money in our fund balance. Just so we can pay our bills on time, which is something that we're really happy we can do.
Absolutely.
From July till October, we are able to pay our bills on time. We don't have to hold back on anything there. And just because there's been questions about this, we passed a resolution in Houston County that we did not give any money to the hospital for operating costs since January of 2020. And so that also had a huge impact on our budget because each year was 800 to 900,000 that was going over to the hospital from the county budget. So that really did help our budget as well as paying off the debt.
Does anybody else have any questions for the auditor or for the mayor or Vina?
Appreciate you coming and working with everybody. So,
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Your hard work and James, thank you for y'all's hard work too. Thank you, Justin.
And we have a number of department heads out here that have worked really hard with frugal budgets. And when we came on board, we told them, if you just hang tight with us and trust us, we'll get you what you need, but we need you to be frugal. And they all did. They've been great to work with. Every year they turn in their budgets and we kind of wrangle about it, but we work it out and we've made it.
Do any of y'all have any questions? We want to thank y'all for doing a great job in your departments as well.
It truly has been a team effort for the past 3.5 years. I mean, there's no way I could have done it without Vina. There's no way Vina could have done it without good department heads running those offices and communicating openly with her about what they absolutely had to have and what they could live without. A lot of us have lived without, and hopefully better days are around the corner. So, I see you shaking your head, Chief. I know you need new fire trucks.
Lena, we got rid of all the June, July, August, September.
Yes, we structured our debt, so some of the first loans that we paid off were the loans that came due in June, July, August, September, because that's why they needed tax anticipation notes to cover those loans before our taxes came in October. And so we have some interest payments that are due on those variable interests, but we cover those with no problem.
Now, just to clarify for those of you that don't know, county government operates almost purely on property tax revenue. And those property taxes come in usually in 2 times of the year, February and October. So those lean months between the end of the fiscal year and the beginning of when those property tax monies start coming in October is the time that Houston County really struggled, from June to October, or July 1st to October. And that's when Houston County got in a position where they were having to take those tax anticipation notes in order to make payroll and pay the electric bill and the gas bill. And sometimes other things that could just sit and wait, sat and wait. They would just sit and wait. We don't do that anymore. We pay our bills on time. We try to avoid late fees. We just try to do the right thing with the taxpayers' money.
How big was your stack of unpaid bills? I mean, did you see you had a stack of unpaid bills one time?
In October, when I started, there was a stack.
Right. It was probably 4 to 6 inches thick.
Yeah.
And it dated back from October to April.
Yeah.
And we worked through that. And now we don't let bills sit. They come in, they're there a day or two maybe, and we're running checks about every other day. We run a stack of checks to keep the county's bills paid and paid on time.
And the other thing that really helped us was the schools who makes a $400,000 payment. They normally made their payment in May. And the first year that we were here in budgeting and we were short, the schools agreed to make their payment early for us into July. And that saved us from having to get a tax anticipation note. Them and our E911 district made their payment that they make yearly. They made it early that first year so that we could cover.
Are they
Our
still making them early?
They're not.
No, we
They're not.
haven't had to have it early.
Had
So
to ask for that 2 years in a row.
we didn't use it the second year we asked for it.
We
We asked for it and they
got it.
agreed, but we didn't need it. We made it.
But when I say it's a team effort, it truly is a team effort. I mean, it's taken a lot of different players to get us from where we were to where we are.
You just don't want to go backwards.
No, do not want to go backwards. There's been a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of hard work, a lot of very early mornings for Dina. She comes in sometimes 6:30 in the morning because the office is quiet. She can think and she can keep the book straight. But as soon as 8 o'clock hits, that phone starts ringing, and it's a whole different world in my office. So, again, I would not be sitting here with an audit that looks this good without the efforts of the director. That is not lost on me.
If no one else has anything, we're open for an adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Properly second. All in favor? Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you all very much.
We did,